Okay, so picture this. You're at a crowded, maybe slightly too loud party. The music's thumping, conversations are overlapping in this chaotic blur, and someone suddenly turns to you and says, "Wow, you're awfully quiet." In that split second, you actually consider explaining yourself. But then you don't. You just give them that classic, polite half shrug, maybe a little smile, and you go right back to observing the room. Because honestly, that is way more interesting than justifying your silence. Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're unpacking the fascinating and highly misunderstood psychology of people who don't talk much. And trust me, it's a whole lot more complex than just being shy.
We see this deeply ingrained societal myth literally everywhere. It's this assumption that quietness is simply a volume problem. You know the drill. Society thinks that somewhere along the line, the quiet person just didn't get enough encouragement. Like, if we just push them a little bit, if we just coax them out into the spotlight, they'll finally blossom into someone loud and outgoing. Well, I want to shatter that assumption right now. Quiet people aren't broken extroverts just waiting around to be fixed. Their internal world operates on a completely different framework.
To really get that framework, we have to look at the contrast between what the world expects and how the quiet mind actually works. We live in a society that constantly demands throughput. Talk fast, and for goodness sake, fill the silence before it gets weird, right? But quiet people, they spend an exhausting amount of social energy managing the gap between taking in a high-resolution world and deciding what is actually worth releasing back into it. And honestly, this gap is where a lot of lonely comedy lives. Think about the unexploded thought. A quiet person will craft the absolute perfect, hilarious response in their head, but because the conversation is moving at the speed of light, the moment passes. Actually, scratch that, it just evaporates. So what happens? They end up texting it to one person at 11 p.m. that night. That one person thinks they're an absolute comedic genius, but the rest of the party is literally never gonna know.
Section 1. The science of silence beyond the volume setting.
This isn't just some quirky behavioral trait. There's actual hard science explaining why some minds operate this way. It all goes back to a truly groundbreaking study by Harvard psychologist Jerome Kagan. He identified a specific group of babies he called high-reactive infants. Basically, their nervous systems just process stimuli at a much higher level. When they were exposed to the exact same new face or sudden sound or environment as the other babies, these high-reactive infants cried harder and got visibly overwhelmed. They were simply doing a massive amount of internal processing with the exact same sensory inputs.
And when Kagan followed these infants into adulthood, he found that many of them grew up to be quieter, more inward people. Why? Well, when you see that quiet person at a gathering, they aren't being distant. They're actually experiencing the room at an abnormally high resolution. They're taking in the lighting, the overlapping conversations, the really subtle shifts in body language. They're essentially doing social mental calculus instead of just making small talk. They get overwhelmed not because they lack social skills, but because our world was built to reward fast throughput, not deep, high-resolution processing.
Section 2. Quiet versus private. The accumulation of correction.
Let's actually track how this builds up over a lifetime. This whole journey of accumulated correction starts back in infancy with that high-reactive nervous system, but then childhood hits. Suddenly, you're getting report card warnings saying needs to participate more in class. Then come the holidays, with well-meaning relatives essentially interrogating the kid, treating their silence like some kind of puzzle to be solved. Over the years, this constant drip of gentle, concerned societal correction sends a really loud, clear message. Your natural inner state is somehow flawed. It teaches them that to be accepted, they have to perform outwardly. And the result of all that? By adulthood, they haven't just stayed quiet, they've become private.
And this is an absolutely crucial distinction to make, understanding what private actually means here. Quiet is just a volume setting, right? It's just how you naturally operate. But being private, that is a defensive boundary. It forms the exact same way a callus forms on your hand. It builds up over years of friction. Specifically, it happens after years of people treating your rare spoken thoughts as some sort of novelty act rather than a genuine contribution to the conversation. It's literally a protective layer against a world that doesn't quite know how to handle your quietness.
Section 3. The hidden superpower, high-resolution presence. We really need to completely flip the script here, because far from being a deficit, interacting with the world this way creates a remarkable advantage. There's this huge disconnect between perception and reality. What people see is someone who's distant, passive, or maybe checked out, but what's actually happening? They are tracking a contradictory statement you made 20 minutes ago. They're noticing super subtle shifts in your tone of voice. Put them in a business meeting, and while everyone else is talking in circles for an hour, the quiet person has already identified the actual core decision within the first 40 seconds. They are almost always the most observant, actively listening people in the room.
It's just a strange cruelty of our social dynamics that the most attentive people are the ones most frequently labeled as not participating.
And because they're taking in so much data and listening so intensely, something really powerful happens when they finally do speak. Words lived in before they are released. I absolutely love this phrase. When a quiet person finally decides that a thought has crossed the threshold from, "I'll keep this to myself," to, "Okay, this needs to be said," their words land with incredible precision. They don't just throw vocabulary at the wall to see what sticks. They know exactly what they mean because those words have been thoroughly stress-tested in their own minds first.
Section 4. Processing the inner weather, sediment over outward language.
So, now that we understand how they process the external world, how do quiet people handle their own deep internal emotions? You can kind of think of this as a slow motion mechanism. Step 1. A quiet person experiences intense inner weather. We're talking profound grief, intense frustration, or sudden joy. But instead of immediately venting it to everyone around them, we move to step 2, which is a slow internal dissolution. And finally, step 3, the emotions settle, sort of like sediment at the bottom of a quiet lake. It definitely doesn't mean they aren't feeling anything. It just means that for them, this deeply interior experience doesn't always have a direct translation into language. They realized a long time ago that forcing complex feelings into clunky, awkward, outward verbal processing just doesn't work for them at all.
Which brings us to the number 1, just one hand. Because of the immense weight that words carry, and because letting someone into that highly guarded, high-resolution inner world is frankly exhausting, a quiet person usually counts the people they let all the way in on just one hand. Getting really close to them takes a level of patience that, let's be honest, most people just don't possess. But if you are one of those few people, they're going to hold on to you with a fierce, unwavering loyalty that's probably more accurately described as profound relief. It's the relief of knowing they don't have to perform anymore.
Section 5. Redefining the default, the loud standard.
Knowing all this, it's time we zoom out and question the very foundations of how we interact socially. Society has essentially made a decision without ever holding a vote. We've just designated the loud default as the correct way to exist. Fast talk, constant verbal throughput, dominating the space, that became the standard. And by default, the deeply observant, processing-heavy quiet mind got framed as the deviation. Quiet people basically spend their entire lives gently failing a social standard that was arbitrarily set by the loudest people in the room, all while they're busy actually processing the rich, complex texture of human experience.
I really want you to ask yourself this. Why would you say something just to say it? To a naturally loud person, filling the silence is just a reflex to avoid awkwardness, right? But to someone whose words carry physical weight, to someone who lives in their words before releasing them, this social pressure feels genuinely bizarre. It's like receiving a directive from an alien planet. They aren't trying to be difficult. They literally just do not see the value in producing empty audio purely to fill a void.
So I want you to take this quote to heart. The next time you're in a room with someone who isn't saying much, don't rush to fill it. Just stay in the silence for a moment. That is my challenge to you. Stop treating the quiet person in your life like a project that needs solving. Stop the interrogation. Just sit in the silence with them. See what it actually feels like to just exist in a shared space without this desperate need for verbal throughput. I promise you, they will notice. They always do. Now, before you wrap up, if you recognize yourself in this explainer today, if you live in that high-resolution, often overstimulating world, I've got something really practical for you. Check out the 7-day guides linked in our description. They're structured around small, daily, actionable steps to help you manage mental overstimulation, quiet that constant background noise, rebuild your focus, fix your sleep schedules, and finally, help your brain settle down. It's not just more information, it's a real toolkit for thriving in a loud world. So grab the guides, take a deep breath, and remember, there is absolutely nothing wrong with the volume of your voice. So the next time you find yourself in a crowded, noisy room, ask yourself, are you just adding to the static, or are you actually listening? I'll see you in the next explainer.